And now, Ruth, it's back to you.
Thank you, Bob. The polls have been closed for nearly an hour and a half. They're starting to count those votes. Let's go to the big board. Terry Jones has been taking a look at the races in Missouri. How's it going, Terry?
We have about over 100,000 votes in right now, Ruth. That's about 5% of what we're expecting. They're almost all, as you can see on the map, from outstate Missouri in the ex-urban areas. White on the map means no votes have been reported yet. Red means they've been reported, and Roy Blunt has the lead in those counties, which is all of them, where the reports have come in. Blunt is getting about 2 votes for every vote that Carnahan is receiving, about 63% to 31%. If you compare how he's doing relative to Jim Talent in 2002 and 2006, he's running ahead of Jim Talent, so this augurs well for his chances and not so well for Robin Carnahan's. The most interesting race on the congressional side, of course, is the 4th Congressional District. I'll ask Andy to try to get us back there. Sure. Which features Ike Skelton against Vicky Hartzler. It was predicted to be a very close contest. And if we go to U.S. representatives here, it's been running very close all night. Right now, Hartzler is ahead, 52% to 43% for Skelton. If you look at particular counties, Ike Skelton is running behind, well behind where he did when he won easily in 2006. This is going to be a down-to-the-wire finish in the 4th Congressional District, and at the moment, Hartzler is doing quite well. On the propositions, the ballot issues, let's look at Proposition A, which has just been talked about.
You got your beat.
Okay. Well, we'll start with Prop B. That's the so-called puppy mill proposition, which you can see is doing quite well outstate. This is a really rural-urban division within Missouri, not unlike what we have on many other issues. And these are agricultural areas by and large. They are not particularly keen on having regulation, more regulation about how much livestock they can produce. They do see it more as that kind of issue than an animal rights one. 64% are voting no in outstate Missouri, with 36% voting yes. And then going to Proposition A, it's getting about 75% of yes votes in the counties that have been reported. And again, this is now about 6% of the statewide vote. So Proposition A, Proposition B off to very good starts. Ike Skelton in trouble. Roy Blunt looking very good. Now to Illinois.
Let's look at Illinois. So much.
Sure. Thank you, Bob. Well, based on the returns and projections, it looks like the Republicans are going to pick up at least 50 seats in the House. Terry Jones and Andrew Tyson are standing by the big board. We're going to get the latest from them on the returns and this shift in power. Gentlemen.
Well, the state auditor's race is one that also has prominence. Susan Monte is the incumbent Democrat. Thomas Schweik is the challenger Republican. Monte won that office in 2006 by over 10 percentage points. It's right now, again, the votes primarily from outstate Missouri and the ex-urban areas. Monte is behind. It's 57% for Schweik, 39% for Monte. But these are areas in which Republicans typically do well, so this will tighten as the evening goes on. It's certainly not over as yet. We'll go to the 4th Congressional District. Or we'll try to. Okay. The results are on the screen there. You can see Vicky Hartzler still leads by a handy margin. Ike Skelton is the chair of the Armed Services Committee, but if the Democrats were going to lose 50-plus seats, this was on the list of ones that might be at risk, and it certainly seems to be at risk at the moment. And then the U.S. Senate race. Okay. Again, in the U.S. Senate race, Roy Blunt continues to have a substantial lead, well above what he would need to do outstate in order to win statewide and to overcome the Democratic vote out of the population centers of Kansas City and the city of St. Louis. For Illinois News, we'll turn to Andy Theising and Mike Lawrence.
What happens with that?
Okay, now we're going to go back to the big board and check in on those Missouri races. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Hi, Ruth. I'm joined by John Combest, who is the political junkie's best friend in Missouri. Every morning, John gets up and provides hot links to all the stories about Missouri politics from throughout the state. John, as you can see, we now have almost 30% of the vote in the U.S. Senate race. Roy Blunt is maintaining his 2-to-1 lead over Robin Carnahan. How does it look to you?
Well, the blueprint for a Democratic candidate winning statewide in Missouri is actually pretty simple, and that is to run up your margin in St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and minimize Republican gains in other parts of the state. For example, in 2006, Claire McCaskill won St. Louis County and St. Louis City by about 100,000 votes. She was also able to very effectively limit Jim Talent's margins in places like Greene County in the southwest part of the state. If Robin Carnahan had any chance in this election, it was to run up those numbers in the city and county and do the same to Roy Blunt's numbers in other parts of the state.
Those numbers are not yet in from city of St. Louis, Kansas City, Jackson County, or in most of St. Louis County. Is that margin, the 2-to-1 margin that you see with about 25%, a little actually closer to 30% of the vote in, enough to augur a easy win for Blunt, or a relatively easy one?
It should be a significant victory. Again, if you go by the 2006 model, Robin Carnahan simply didn't build up enough numbers in the city and county to offset Blunt's advantage in southwest Missouri.
Let's compare this now to the state auditor's race. We can have it show up. Throughout the night, I'll get the numbers up, and the state auditor, Sean Schweik, has been running about 5 percentage points behind Blunt's numbers statewide. So he's about 20% or so ahead of his opponent, Susan Montee, the incumbent. How does that lead to a prediction of what might happen in the state auditor's race?
I think it'll be a nail-biter. I would predict that Susan Montee comes out on top. If you look at 2006, her numbers, her margin in St. Louis City and St. Louis County were even better than Claire McCaskill. Susan Montee also has the advantage of spending 4 years doing the nuts and bolts type of work, really the grunt work that a state auditor does, going into small towns, going into relatively small counties, performing audits. She has an advantage there that Robin Carnahan, frankly, didn't have. I wouldn't be surprised to see Susan Montee pull this off.
Schweik has the disadvantage, arguably, of running as a St. Louisan, which is never easy statewide. If he does win and becomes the Republican auditor, what does that mean for Republican chances of having a St. Louis Republican in higher office in Missouri for a governor or U.S. senator?
Well, it certainly increases the chances. You know, obviously, a knock against a lot of St. Louis Republicans, be it Jim Talent or others, is that they couldn't win statewide. A Schweik victory would certainly disprove that.
We're still waiting for the story from the city of St. Louis County, Jackson County, and Kansas City. That could will let us know what's going to happen, but there's much to come to date.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen.